Of Weber State Weekly, a member of the Big Sky Podcast Network. I am your host, a man who aced the SAT test. Of course, you know about that. 93rd percentile, this guy. Didn't even try. Colby Peterson. On the show today, we have a man who once aced his kindergarten entrance exam, Sean Lewis.
Did so well on the entrance exam to kindergarten, they skipped me directly to first grade, and was big heartbreak because I wasn't in kindergarten with my best friend. Long story, but I skipped kindergarten, which meant I was smart at one time.
All right. And then we've also got a woman who aced her 5th grade multiplication facts all the way through the 11s, Jessica Euler.
I still can't get the 12s. My 3rd grader has got all the multiplication facts through 12s now and division, so I aspire to be that way one day, but the 12s still get me.
12s are tough. The 12s are tough. All right, folks, on today's show, we got a special guest. We're really excited. We're going to be interviewing redshirt sophomore outside hitter Dani Nay. Dani Nay is joining us to talk a little bit about her journey from Nampa, Idaho, all the way to Ogden, Utah to play some volleyball. Former Gatorade Player of the Year in the state of Idaho. Then we're going to talk some volleyball once we've wrapped up that interview with Dani. We're going to talk about a couple of dubs that they got on the road this week, one in Bozeman and another in Missoula. Always love getting dubs in Missoula. And then finally, we're going to wrap the show up talking about some football. We're going to talk about the Weber State Wildcats taking on the Cal Poly Mustangs in a resounding win over them down in San Luis Obispo. But before we get into all that, of course, we want to remind you folks, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the show. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Stitcher. Basically, any place you get your podcast, we're probably there. So check us out. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, if it's awake. We don't know. Instagram, also, if it's up. And Twitter. Twitter is also one of the best places to interact with the Weber State Weekly team, especially on game day. And if you haven't already, check out, we got a Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/Weber State Weekly. We've got a game day chat where we have a Slack channel where we talk about what's going on in the game in real time with a group of loyal Wildcat fans. So check us out there. Weber State, it's patreon.com/Weber State Weekly. Become a patron and get in our feed, man. It's super fun time. So I think that's all of our stuff. And so now I want to bring in redshirt sophomore outside hitter Dani Nay. Dani, welcome to Weber State Weekly. We are really appreciative of you for taking some time. I know you're a busy student in the nursing program. Thanks for coming on the show. Oh, no. Oh, the technology is letting us down.
Oh, no.
Can you hear us?
It's terrible. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can. Yeah, wonderful. We just want to say, Dani,
good.
Thanks so much. Thanks for coming on the show this evening. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So we wanted to start out with that question, Dani. Of course, former Gatorade Player of the Year, played really at a high level in high school up in Nampa, Idaho. Talk to us a little bit about your journey to Weber State, coming down from the Boise area to Ogden, Utah. How did the Wildcats get on your radar, and kind of what made that ultimate decision for you? Because no doubt a player like that, at your caliber, highly recruited, but you chose Weber State. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I went to Skyview High School in Nampa. It's just a little north of Boise. My high school team was pretty good. I started playing club when I was like 10-ish. I played for Idaho Crush, which was like a fairly new club in the Idaho area. I was actually on the first like original Idaho Crush team when we were 10 and stuff. And so I played for Crush all throughout high school and growing up. And my team was pretty good. Like I played with some really good athletes. The same team almost my whole life too, all the way up until we were 18 and graduated. And so I have teammates who like are at BYU and at Utah and play at Idaho State and Montana and now Boise State and stuff. And so my team was very talented. So that definitely helps like get some recognition and get some eyes in the club aspect, just because we had a lot of really good girls on my team. And my coach, her name's Caroline Bauer. She founded the club and she played at BYU and actually like holds a ton of records there, was like a crazy athlete. And so I played with her 2 daughters. And she has a ton of connections. And so we had a lot of college coaches coming to watch us play, which I think is a little unusual. Like a lot of people send out film and reach out. Pretty fortunate to have. And so I talked to a lot of the Utah schools in the area, and I ended up going to a couple camps, but I just really loved the coaching staff here, and I love the coaches. And I saw campus like as much as you do on when you come for like camps and stuff. But I also knew nursing was really important to me and that they were super willing to work with my schedule. And so I think the combination of that and the girls are awesome. I love Ogden. The coaches are truly like the best out there. It kind of just felt like home. And so I just stuck with my gut and came here, and I'm really glad that I did. So that's basically it.
I got to say, we're really glad that you chose that as well, because you had quite an impact on the team. Like we said, coming in, I think 2018 was your first season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so kind of, things kind of really beginning to pick up steam. 2019, playing in the Big Sky Conference Championship against Northern Colorado, and then eventually getting a Big Sky Championship in the spring, becoming a champion yourself and an All-American.
Mm-hmm. It's been fun. It's crazy to think I've been here that long, just because when I broke my hand my freshman year, and so I redshirted, and that felt like it took forever. And then we played one season, and then Corona happened, and so it's just been kind of a crazy journey, but I'm grateful for it.
Yeah. Jessica or Sean, questions for Dani Nay?
I was going to let Jessica go ahead, but I'll take this. Weber State has celebrated the career of your teammate, Ashlyn Power, who has 5,000 career assists. Sorry, I had to get to the right screen on my stat sheet. As an outside hitter, what makes Ashlyn so special about getting the balls up to you so that you can get the kills that come from her assists?
Yeah, Ash is awesome. She's actually one of my very, very close friends, which is kind of funny because she is the setter and I'm the hitter and stuff. But
good chemistry.
She's awesome. Yeah, she is an incredible athlete. And honestly, like, she just gets to balls. Like, no matter where we pass it, no matter where we dig it, like, she ends up getting us something up high that we can go in better over to the other side. Kind of funny, something she actually says all the time, like if we're struggling passing or like some team has a really good serve, she'll be like, hey, just throw it up, like anywhere you want. I can get there. Like, I don't know. It's awesome. It's just, and she's just such a good teammate. Like, just like that, like instilling confidence in me and in our team. So it's awesome. She's awesome.
So next question for me about the sport, and we'll get into some of the other stuff, but as an outside hitter, would you rather have a kill? You're famous for aces on the serve or dig. What gets you more ramped up? The ace on the serve, the kill, or getting a great dig? Because when I've been watching, you guys have had some great digs to keep rallies alive.
That's a good question. I don't know. I kind of like all of it, to be honest, but I'd have to say the kills are probably my favorite. Aces are kind of just like a nice addition, and digs are good just because I can help someone else get a kill, but I'd say kills probably get me the most fired up.
Makes sense. Outside hitter likes to get the kill, likes to find the floor. It all works out. Jessica Euler, any questions for Dani Nay?
Yeah, I just think y'all are like a team that we haven't seen before with Weber State volleyball. What do you think makes this team so special and to be able to keep this momentum year after year at this point, really?
I think something that like cannot be said enough is all of the work that was put in previous years. Like, without the girls that came before us, we would not be here. And without like all of the work that our coaches have put in, like, it's insane to do what they have done to a volleyball program. But truly, like, the girls who came before us and all of the hard work they did, because they don't get to really like experience the wins and experience the good parts that we're getting now. Because we're standing on their shoulders, girls that I didn't even really get to play with, which I'm sad that I didn't, because I feel like I kind of came up on the tail end of it, where they had already gone through kind of all the rough parts and all the hard parts to get us there. But yeah, I just say building off what the coaches have instilled in the program and the hard work that the girls have put in, and just being able to try and continue that legacy and the work ethic that they had and the culture that they created here, I think is what it makes our program really special. So
that's awesome. I have one other question for you. Is that okay, Colby? Can I?
Oh yeah, totally.
Of course.
So in a game like Montana State, where it is so close back and forth, and you got to keep your head in the game, right? You got to keep motivated. Who is your biggest motivator? Is it the team talking to each other? Is it something special the coach says? What keeps y'all in the game when it gets so close and stressful for that long of a period of time there?
That's a good question. Honestly, I think something else that's really special about our team is how, like, our coaches and all the players, like, we're strong together and, like, we really lean on each other and, like, we're very much like one. Like, the coaches are helping us and we're leaning on each other, and I think that's something too that makes our team special is that, we'll go to battle together. Like, I trust those girls with my life. Like, I know no matter what happens, like, the girls next to me are gonna be fighting as hard as I am, and so I'd say the biggest motivator is just playing for my teammates and playing for each other because, like, they're my best friends, and for our coaches because we love them and they love us, and we just wanna win, you know?
And when you have, there have been
Yeah.
quite a number of really good wins. Like Jessica noted, a gritty win on Thursday night up in Bozeman. I think after that fourth set, losing 26-24, there was just kind of like just a sour taste in the mouth after the way things went. So it was like, come back, and at the start of the fifth set, not obviously ideal, but right back into it. And then, man, come out with the W. Massive win there.
Yeah, it was a fun game. Montana's a good team. They kind of always have been. They just are feisty and they, like, come after you like you kinda saw. So it was fun. It was a tough one, but I was glad that we could I was glad that we could just keep fighting through it, so.
So, Danny, we wanted to ask you, we talked about your teammate, Ashlyn, and the setting, but you currently lead the country in service aces. Hashtag Ace State is what I think.
Up there,
what
we got Ace
we've dubbed it up there. And you're third in the nation in aces per set. Has being a fantastic dynamite server been something that you've always worked at, or is that something you've developed since you've been here in Ogden?
Definitely something I've developed since I've been here. I think I've always been a pretty decent server, but the way our coaches teach us to serve, I think, is, like, unique. It's not unique. It's very good. But, like, I was never really taught how to serve super well until I came here, to be honest. Like, it's not really the one, like, skill that is focused on super often, but it's definitely a very, very big part of the game. Like, if you can keep your serve on another team and keep them kind of on their heels, then it makes a big difference. And so definitely something that I have improved at since I've gotten here. I did not come here that good of a server. So
and then lastly, just to ask about the championship aspirations that this team has. You were able to win the Big Sky tournament in the spring. You had a taste of the NCAA tournament. How much is there motivation? I'm assuming the goal is to get back to the NCAA tournament and win and advance the NCAA tournament. How much has the preseason and the tough non-conference schedule that we've played prepared you for that to help you in those tournament type settings where the teams get tougher?
Yeah, we did get a taste of it last year. It was so awesome. I want to go back more than anything else. Like, it was so fun. I think our preseason lineup really prepared us really well for that. Not only for our conference, because, like, you got to get through conference first, to get there, and we have a tough conference. So, but I do think it prepared us well, just with the level of play. Like, the girls are huge. They're all so tall and super physical, and so I think it's fun when we get to play those tough games in preseason to help prepare us, like I said, for season to hopefully get back to the NCAA tournament. But honestly, like, our end goal always is just to compete, whether that's in our conference or whether that's at the NCAA tournament. Like, we're just going to go out and compete, hopefully with the best of them. So,
yeah. And compete you have, of course, like Sean noted, a trip to the NCAA tournament in the spring. We were able to take down Bowling Green in the first round before running up against the number 1 seed Wisconsin, which was a tough match. But the thing I liked about your demeanor during that was I think that you all knew that you were up against a very good team, the best team in the country. Some would argue. The tournament didn't end up that way for the Badgers, but still a tough team. And you all were out there just having a good time, enjoying what you had. Talk to us a little bit about that. Where you're up against a team that is, I mean, they're tough. They're absolutely tough, and it's going to be quite a feat to beat them. But I think that you all handled it really well and had a smile on your face the whole time. Talk to us about that experience.
Yeah, it was so fun, honestly. Our outlook kind of, honestly, for the whole game was we're going to go out and we're going to play Weber State volleyball like we always do, and we're going to compete as hard as we can like we always do, and we're going to recognize that they are the #1 team in the tournament. Like, that is what it is, and we're just going to go out and give it our best. And I really liked that during that game, like, we didn't really let it shake us that we were playing like this huge #1 team. I thought we competed really well. And like stuck to our game plan. We watched film and prepared like we do for all the other games, and honestly treated it like it was any other game, which I think was very helpful because it could have been easy to kind of get nervous or excited or whatever, but it was fun. Like, I was just out there playing with my best friends, like playing some of the best volleyball we've ever played, competing with some of the best in the country. And I think like we competed well, which I think is so awesome.
I would have to agree. I think you played well as well, considering the situation. And of course, the tournament was weird because of COVID, so that kind of has an impact as well. But Jessica Euler, one last question for Dani Nay before we wrap up the interview here.
Sorry, I had to have a minute there. So this week, what are you doing to prep for it? Are you excited about it? Talk to us about your feelings going into Idaho State this week in the undefeated Northern Colorado team.
Yeah, big game.
We're excited. Yeah, it's a pretty quick turnaround just from playing. Like, we're playing like 4 games in a week, which feels like a lot, I think, but we're excited. Idaho State's a good team. Definitely preparing for that. And UNC will be fun. We always look forward to playing UNC. They're really good, like they always are. But I think, honestly, the most important thing for us this week is just continue to work on things that we need to get better at. For us, it's always like we don't have to be good now. We just need to be good in November when it's the tournament. And so this will definitely be a challenging week that can show us maybe some areas that we need improvement or challenge us a little bit and see if we can, rise up to the challenge. And just, I think it'll be really good for us. So we're really excited.
Like Jessica noted, a couple of big matches coming up this week for the Wildcats. They will be at home for both. So they'll be in the Swenson on Tuesday night, 6 p.m. to take on Idaho State. They're coming down from Pocatello. And then also big match on Thursday. Northern Colorado, undefeated at this point, coming to Ogden. And the Wildcats and the Bears have seen each other twice now in the past 2 years in the championship game. The Bears winning the championship in 2019 in 5 sets. The Wildcats handling business, I think, in 4, I think it was in the spring. And so, I mean, a little bit of a rivalry there in the conference. And I think also ears are perked up because the Bears handled NAU pretty handily over the weekend, sweeping them in straight sets. So eyebrows were raised at the result of that match. So it's going to be a big one. From what I hear, it's going to be blackout. And after the match, you all are going to be signing some posters. So looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, it'll be fun. Everybody better come out, get Swenson loud like we can. It's really fun.
Yeah. So Dani Nay, really appreciate you taking some time to chat with us here on Weber State Weekly about, like we said, your journey from Nampa, Idaho, all the way down here to Ogden and the success you've had. Wishing you the best of luck on Tuesday night and Thursday night as Guy play continues to roll on. But like we said, both of those matches will be at 6 p.m. If you are not in Ogden, you can watch them on ESPN+.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
It was awesome.
Thanks, Dani. Good luck this week.
Thank you, Dani.
Thank you.
All right. I want to thank Dani Nay one more time for hopping on the show and chatting a little bit with us. Appreciate her. But now we're going to talk a little bit about how these matches went, because like Jessica noted, we had some tough opponent in Montana State up in Bozeman this week. Wouldn't you guys agree? I mean, I was sweating in that match. I'm not gonna lie. I was watching it while I was trying to do some work, and I was sweating. How were you all feeling?
Well, the Montana road trip is by far the toughest road trip in the Big Sky. I don't care when you have to go there. I don't care what sport it is. Yeah, when you're going to Montana State and you're going to Montana, Bozeman to Missoula, there's just something about that road trip that seems to trip up the Wildcats every time. And I commend the ladies for getting the sweep. That's a tough trip anytime you do it. So commend them for getting the sweep. The Montana State game, again, full disclosure, I did not watch these games last weekend as I had some personal things going on. But looking at the box scores and looking at what happened, I think the environment in Bozeman and the trip up there, it does things to you. So I don't know what was going on there, but that was a tough one. But they came out, and it's always good to beat the Grizzlies. I don't care what it is. That always feels good. So
yeah, definitely handled business in Missoula. But Jessica, talk to us a little bit about Thursday night, because I think I saw you tweeting about it as well. Because I will have a full disclosure here, folks. After we went down 5-1 in the fifth set, I'm a super superstitious person. Like, I feel like if I'm watching and we're doing bad, I'm the guy who I need to move a different seat or something like that. I'm very much like the dad from Silver Linings Playbook. I do that stuff, right? I'm like, oh no, you need to go back and sit right there, because when you were sitting there, we were doing good. So go sit there again, right? I do that stuff all the time, and so I was sweating bullets in that fifth set. Jessica, how were you feeling after losing that fourth set? Just a gut punch, just losing 26-24. Like, ugh, especially some of the calls that happened. I was like, oh, how are you feeling going into that fifth set?
Ooh, that game stressed me out so much. I think I even tweeted that, for heaven's sakes. And when we went into the fifth set, and they were up on us through the first few points, and I felt the same way. I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. We kept it so close to the rest of the time, and what's happening? And it was just so great to see the team pull together, because to be down, and I can't remember how far they were down. It might have been 6-1. I don't know what the score was, but I was sitting downstairs watching it on ESPN Plus, like, oh my goodness. And they just pulled it together. They rallied. They scored quite a few points and played like one heck of a team. But to say I was stressed is a little bit of an understatement, just because this team is just so good. And they've done so well for the last 2 years for sure. And I was like, no, not Montana State. And so it was great to see the team work together and not let that get in their head. And I think that's one of the most impressive things about this team, because there have been a few sets that have been really, really close. And it's just been amazing to see how they'll rally together and have a conversation as a team, or have the coaches touch base, and they're able to come back from that with a lot of teams, and especially, college players. If sometimes you can get in your head, and that's the end of it. So to go into that fifth set after everything had been so tight, and of course, those girls were tired, and then to be down and come back from that, just amazing, just so impressive.
Yeah. One thing that I was really surprised at on Thursday night was service errors. So we talked with Dani Nay just a second ago about how serving is really a strength of this team, and of course she's leading the country right now in service aces and third in the country in aces per set. But 11 service errors. I was really surprised at all of the service errors coming from normally what is a strength for the Wildcats, and I think that it made the match closer than it had to be. If maybe they had been able to flip the script and been able to get more service aces, because I think they ended up with 4. But I mean, service aces. Talk to me a little bit about why you guys felt like that was such an issue in Bozeman.
Gosh, I think some of it goes to what Sean's saying. I hadn't thought about that before, but that is quite the trip to go up there and play the game. And I do think that is one of the places where it's all up to you. It's not up to the team when you're serving. The power lies with you of how you're doing. And so it does seem like that can be one of the places that if you start worrying about yourself individually, that you can have service errors. I was surprised as well, because it's certainly not something that we have very many of over time. But I do think it is the one where it comes down to individual responsibility. And if you're feeling the stress, then it can show up in the service error. But like I said, I really like what Sean said. I bet there's a travel impact there as well.
Look, the first thing I'm getting old. And one of the things that I'm realizing is that these are 18, 19, 20-year-old I don't want to call them kids, but young adults. And everybody has a bad day. I have a bad day at work every once in a while. These guys have a bad day, blame it on environment, whatever. I'm kind of done just trying to figure out and think I know better than Maya or the other coaches on the team. They got the dub, and that's what matters. And they overcame 11 service errors, which is great. But they got the dub, and that's what counts. And the grittiness of completing that fifth set shows the mental capacity of this team. Sometimes you're going to have an off night, and you've got to be able to overcome that, and that's what they did on Thursday. So props to the team because they did what they needed to do, and that's what's most important.
Yeah, and I think that there's something to what you said there about the elevation and the way the ball flies. We've heard Coach Jeremiah Larson talk in the past about how, sometimes going up to NAU and Flagstaff, ball flies funny up there. The elevation can affect the way that the ball will travel. We've heard the same when the Wildcats have to travel down to Sacramento to go see Sac State. That's always a difficult road trip as well. The Hornets is something with the elevation there as well. The Hornets always just seem to have some good luck, or they've got it figured out down there, and so it can cause problems for what normally folks expect the ball to do. Doesn't maybe necessarily do that when you change venues a little bit.
Well, and each team knows. I think volleyball, in a lot of ways, the home court, how your gym plays, right? Yeah. And a team coming in has to figure that out. And there's good teams and bad teams that can overcome those type of things. But there's something to learning how that gym plays, and you're only there. You get a little bit of like a 1 hour practice when you get there, and then you got to play the game. There's something to that. And again, I'm no expert, and I'm not going to say that I know everything, but I think that we've got to give credit to the team for overcoming those factors, whatever they were, whatever it was. They had 11 service errors. We're going to look at that and say, gosh, what a rough night. But it wasn't a rough night because they got the W. And then focus on what's important there.
Yeah. Jessica, any thoughts about elevation or anything like that, or the way the gym plays?
No, I agree with what y'all are saying. I do think that so much of it just comes down to the space you're in and how tired you are. And they've had, 5 sets is a lot to play. So I think where we start to see some errors where we might not see them before, you just get tired after you've been out there for a hot minute.
Yeah. One thing that came to my mind as I was preparing for the show was the fact that Northern Colorado had beaten this same team in straight sets 3-0. And so I wondered if, is that just because sometimes scheme is a thing, right? Like we've seen it in football a lot. Certain teams just match up bad with the Wildcats. We just have a hard time, dealing with that. We saw that with JMU a number of times now. And so I wondered if that's just kind of like a scheme thing where it's like, well, Northern Colorado just kind of schemes well against MSU. Wildcats not so much, but they still are able to overpower that and get the dub. I don't know. What are you guys thinking there? Like, does it mean anything? Or does it mean nothing?
I think it's good practice, right? I really liked what Dani said. It's all about the tournament at the end of this. It could be so many of a variety of factors, right? How much film we watched Montana State versus another team, and prepping for the next week. So it could have been all of these factors. But I think it's good to not be the best all the time, right? I think games like this are awesome because they really show the grittiness and how we can come together when times get tough, and to say, don't overlook this team because we've got the next one to prep for. So I really, while I might not have said the same thing on Thursday night at the end of the game when I kind of sat back on the couch and took a deep breath, I think that it's good to not be perfect all the time because we can learn from that.
Yeah. So Colby, you're about to talk to us about the game against Montana that we went in, and one of the things you're going to bring up is that the Wildcats had 18 blocks.
Yes.
Now I'm not going to be a hot take person, but we've got to remember we don't get too high or too low, right? 18 blocks on Saturday versus 11 service errors on Thursday. Are we going to say that one was worse than the other, or that the Wildcats all of a sudden have everything figured out? They're playing different teams, different venues. Certainly. And as you talk about the schemes, you can have those schemes that lead to different things. Obviously, Montana's not the best team in the Big Sky. We will see on Thursday night against Northern Colorado, which has been with Weber, the class of the conference for the last few years. We're going to see on Thursday how good this Wildcat volleyball team really is. And your point is exactly right. Northern Colorado took care of Montana State in straight sets. Montana State took Weber to 5 sets, right? You could look at that and say, gosh, Northern Colorado is going to be going to dominate us, or you could look at that and say, gosh, both teams beat Montana State and they're going to have a great game and a great time on Thursday. Everybody should show up to the Swenson.
They absolutely should show up to the Swenson, and they should wear black while they do it, because it's blackout, folks.
Get your black t-shirt from wildcatrack.com.
We've got some. I mean, there is a volleyball shirt on wildcatrack.com. Nice plug there, my man. Go to wildcatrack.com. We've got a nice volleyball championship t-shirt, but also there are some black options for you. So if you want to get your t-shirt for Thursday, go check it out, wildcatrack.com. But Jessica, I wanted to ask you, I mean, 18 blocks, I mean, that's pretty good, because there were some performances early in the season where the block really struggled and it cost the Wildcats. But now 18 blocks, I mean, it feels like maybe the block is getting some momentum. I mean, how did you feel about 18 blocks on Saturday against a Montana team in only 3 sets?
I thought it was great. It's great to see when the stars align, really, when what you're doing day to day in the gym, practicing, starts to come together, and the straight sets against Montana, like that's what you want to see every week, right? You want to see just the ease with which the team is working together. And, some of those weren't close either. So it was, what I'm saying is Thursday was a good warm up to Saturday is what that was. We prepped Montana State, and then we just took the cake on Saturday. The block, we did fantastic together really that day.
Yeah. I mean, I think in the first set, there was a point where the Wildcats were up 15-1. Just absolute dominance. Just like, man, can you believe that? Or no, actually, that was the second set. Sorry. But all right. Well, like we said, folks, we've got a couple of matches this week for Wildcat volleyball. We're going to be taking on Idaho State in the Swenson on Tuesday night. You can go check it out, get your tickets, show up to the Swenson, or watch it on ESPN Plus if you're that guy. But then Thursday night, big match. And so if you have the ability, I will be in the building on Thursday night, even though I should be getting ready to move to Tennessee. I got to be in the building for this one, because my goodness, it is. I mean, like we said, Wildcats, Bears, these are the two teams that have faced each other in the last 2 championships. They got 1 ring apiece out of that showing. This is going to be a good one. This is going to be a really good one. It's blackout, and bring your family, because you can get some autographs afterwards. So hopefully there's a dub there, and then smiles all around. So check out Wildcat volleyball this weekend up in the Swenson, because it's going to be some good ones. All right, folks, now we're going to segue into football. We had a football game this weekend down in Southern California at San Luis Obispo, and the Wildcats took on the Cal Poly Mustangs. It feels like I can't remember the last time Cal Poly's come to Ogden. Do you guys? It feels like it's been at least 3 years.
About the last time that Davis saw we were at home in California.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was 2019. But anyway, so I think that the way I wanted to start this one off was a lot of people were kind of asking, like, how do you take this game? Because Wildcats have had a tough go lately, losing to JMU, losing to Davis at the last second, and then just kind of falling in the rankings. A lot of people questioning, like, does Weber State have it this year? I think that this game came at just the right time. Can you all agree with that? It's like this is a game that we needed.
This was a perfect palate cleanser for the Wildcat football team, and you get the bad taste out of the loss to Davis. You get the bad taste of the loss to JMU. You get back on the winning track. You have a good statistical performance. I would say that that first half of football was probably one of the better first halves of football we've seen the Wildcats put together so far this season. They had it on every facet of the game, and so I'm saying that that's a good thing to get confidence. Confidence breeds confidence. Winning breeds winning. We've got a week off before a huge showdown on the. Wait, Sorry, I have my schedule all jacked up.
No, you're right though. There's a bye week this week, and then
we have a bye week
this
week. Yeah. We've got bye week before homecoming in Montana State on ESPNU on a Friday night. A couple weeks to prepare. That Montana State game is one that I pegged at the beginning of the season, is one that scared me to death. And glad we get it here at Stewart Stadium. But I think the Wildcats were able to figure some things out and get some confidence. And starting Weisser, he looked good as a quarterback to start that game. We got Josh Davis back and healthy. We've got things seem to be going the Wildcats' way. after that one. So just a good victory all around. Congrats to Jay Hill on becoming the winningest coach in Wildcat history too. After
That's
that
right. Yeah, and I guess another thing we should have shouted out. Also, Jeremiah Larson ended up getting his 100th win over the weekend as the head volleyball coach. So congrats to Coach Larson as well. But guys, I was going to point something out because you talked about starting Kyle and Weisser. I think we got to stop having quarterbacks on Weber State Weekly, folks. We have Bronson Barron on the show. Next week he gets hurt. We got Kyle Weisser on the show. It looked like he had some sort of ankle sprain in the game, and then they ended up putting Creighton Cooper in. And so I'm like, okay, no more quarterbacks on Weber State Weekly because this is a problem.
It's your show, Colby. You can make that production decision.
Jessica, talk to me.
But in that case, don't mess with it either. I mean, it
yeah.
seems like not the pattern we want to continue. We only have so many quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, we're down to 2 here, and it's like, all right, man, maybe we need to do something here. But Jessica, talk to me a little bit about this game down in SLO on the weekend. I mean, the Wildcats ended up coming out and scoring on the first drive, right? Just marching down the field, getting a touchdown, taking care of business. Do you feel like that kind of just sets the tone for the rest of the game? Do you feel like those kind of early scoring kind of helps their confidence going into the rest of the game? What do you think about that?
Absolutely, I do. I do think we've played a tough schedule so far, right?
Yeah,
With Utah, UC Davis, JMU, like it's a tough schedule. And all that being said, it's hard when you're walking around talking with your friends, seeing posts in the community like, oh my gosh, are we not as good as we have been in the past? And, certainly we all have room for improvement, but we also had a dang tough schedule right out of the block there. So I think to come out and score on that first drive was setting the stage and definitely would help the team get back into that headspace, because I think it's a little bit rough coming off of the games that we've had, and to start there was a dang good place to start. And it just seems like, I think we've had some time over the last couple of weeks with Weisser and Johnson and getting, a different quarterback in the seat when we've depended on Barron for such a long time. And I think we're starting to see the team mesh. And I think it's, while I'm super excited to get Barron back, hopefully in 2 weeks, I think that it's good to have all this experience under the belt of our other quarterbacks, and to have Cooper come out there and have a chance, I think was awesome, because you never know when you're going to have an injury, but it's so great to see how this team was able to mesh quickly and start to really pull together as we get our defense all back in order. Josh Davis, like Sean was saying, being back out. It was a great way to start the game, and man, it was a fun one to watch. I want some halftime fireworks, though, if we could get that worked in.
I will say that it was Cal Poly homecoming, so hence the fireworks. If you were watching the broadcast on ESPN Plus, I'm gonna give the thumbs down to that camera work. But it was nice seeing those fireworks, because I thought it was a pretty good show. And for the folks the Wildcats who did go down to San Luis Obispo to see the game, they said pretty incredible. And apparently that band down there is pretty good too. So.
So let's get to the quarterback situation though, Colby. We talked about quarterbacks around here.
Yeah.
I wonder. I think Weber, with one exception, watching the 4 quarterbacks that have played time this season, I wonder if you could argue that there should be a competition between the number 1 Bronson Barron and 2 Weisser. Weisser's put some good throws when he's had time to get into the game. He's managed the game well, and I know nobody likes to call it a game manager, but gosh, he looked good against Poly on Saturday for most of the game. He looked good in that second half against Davis and ran out of time. We might have won that game if there was a 5th quarter. But I really think that if you were to put a true serum in me right now, I might argue that Weisser's in a better spot to start than Bronson Barron is.
I mean, I don't know about that, because I think that Bronson Barron is obviously the starter for a reason. Obviously, Kylan Weisser might have a little bit more experience than Bronson does, but Bronson also has the entire spring season that he's played. He's played against some really tough opponents so far, and so I've liked what Kylan has done. I think that he's done a great job, especially given the situation and what he's been asked to do, especially coming in cold on that JMU game, coming in at halftime saying, okay, you're the guy. And I mean, really great performance in the second half, heartbreaker, of course, against UC Davis. Not, unfortunate, not able to score more points there. But yeah, man, I think that Weisser has really done a good job, and hopefully, he's able to get back soon. But I think that, at the end of the day, Barron has the most experience, and so I can understand why Coach Jay Hill and Matt Hammer would choose Barron over Weisser at this point in time. But you might be right, Sean. There might be an opportunity down the road where, maybe there will be a competition, because, like we said, Kyler Weisser has really played well and done a lot of good with the time he's been given.
So here's my Weber State truther comment. If you listen to the game day show a couple weeks ago, I brought this up, but we get a bigger audience here, and my guy Jeff Millard's watching, so I want to make sure he hears this. But I want to make sure that we're clear. I blame a lot of the struggles that Weber State has had on the coaching staff, and I love our coaching staff. I don't want to get wrong here, but some of the decisions that they've made. And I'm going to call out Matt Hammer specifically. Looking at the quarterback situation that we have, you've got Bronson Barron hurt. You got Weisser that got hurt. You've got Randall Johnson, who has not been productive in the starts that we've seen him in the games that he's played, has not run the offense well. And yet we've got Weisser out there running for his life and running in spots where maybe that's a hidden decision versus what the play call was. But are our coaches putting our quarterbacks in position to stay healthy? That's the question that I want to throw out there. We're not very deep with all these injuries at quarterback anymore.
I don't know, Jessica, you go ahead and take that one first. I've got some thoughts.
Well, I was just going to say, I think it is a tough call to make. Is it a player decision or play decision? Because I'm going to guess that especially some of those late game runs when we are up that high is probably more player decision. I could be wrong, but I had the same sort of thought myself whenever I was like, we have got to stop running the quarterback, especially when we were up by that many points. I think it's great to see Weisser running. I mean, now obviously with a high ankle sprain, not so great.
Totally athletic kid. I'd love what he does when he runs. He makes really good decisions.
Yeah, but I had similar concerns when I saw him running in later in the game, to be like, we are too far up to continue running this ball. So I don't know who made that decision at this point. Like I said, I'd like to hope that it's at least equal at that point in time. But I think a lot of times you've got a lot of energy from your quarterback out there, and you want to support him in the way that he wants to go out there and run. But I agree, like it's a risk. We can't have, we are only so deep at quarterback. We're not positive when Barron's going to be back in there. So I think as much as we can protect our quarterback, we should continue to do that for sure. And fair, that's why we could put Cooper in instead of Johnson, right? Like, I think that was a good call too.
I'm just stirring the pot here, Colby. I want Bronson to come back and be QB1. But you had some thoughts. You ought to rebut me.
No, it's fine. And I think that you're right. I mean, I agree with Jessica that it was nice to see Creighton Cooper get some reps because, the Wildcats were, the game was basically in hand. The defense had shut down. I was going to say that they sacked Jackson Pavitt, who was I think he was a freshman, true freshman coming in for the Cal Poly Mustangs in that game. So obviously, not a ton of experience there, but they sacked him 7 times in that game. And so I was wondering, like, okay, is the D-line back? But when it comes to the quarterback question, I was thinking about 2017, right? When we had Stephen Cantwell ran a lot of those plays, and a lot of those plays were designed plays by Fesi Satake to, get out there and run. And so I thought about that, and I was like, the last time we really had a productive offense, one that really could, scare some of the bigger teams in the conference or in the country, especially the teams like JMU, where we're going to go to Harrisonburg and we're going to play JMU in the quarterfinals, and we're going to see, you're seconds away from winning that game. I think that maybe it makes sense to run the quarterback in that situation. It's like, all right, this is going to throw those guys off. And I think maybe it's just a little bit more coaching, teach these guys to, slide a little bit, because Stephen Cantwell found himself in some trouble. The last time that we lost to SUU was, because he ended up getting hurt, getting hit, going out of bounds in the second quarter of that game in 2017. And the Thunderbirds ended up beating the Wildcats in Stewart Stadium that year. But we haven't lost since, which was nice. So I wondered about, maybe there's something to this, because the last time we had a productive offense, there were a lot of keepers, and it worked really well. I think it's just a matter of coaching guys up and making sure, like, okay, if we're going to do this, you got to make sure that you do it the right way so that guys aren't getting hurt, because you can do it. You just got to be smart about it. And so I'm not totally against running. I understand, Obviously, the depth at the quarterback position is a question, especially where Randall Johnson, like you said, has not been productive, has not thrown the ball well. And so it makes for like, okay, we've really only got one quarterback that can really throw the ball well, and, or at least hopefully throw the ball at a reasonable clip. And, maybe that's Creighton Cooper for us. But I don't mind the run, the designed run for the quarterback, especially when it's there for a reason. It's there to throw them off, and especially when it's productive and it gets yards and it keeps the chains moving, because I think that's where the Wildcats have struggled a lot.
I agree with that. I think more of my frustration is Kylan taking some hits that maybe he shouldn't be taking, and maybe trying to get an extra yard or two, and being prudent decision maker like that. I do want to throw this out there because I want to be factual and stat based. Looking at the overall rushing totals for the season for the Wildcats, Josh Davis and Dante McMillan 1 and 2, 49 attempts for Davis, 48 attempts for over the course of the season. The next three attempt leaders: Kylan Weisser, Randall Johnson, Bronson Barron. Now that's the depth.
Well,
I mean, we're working our workhorses. I get that, but that's not it. Kylan Weisser, 22 attempts, has 102 yards, a net of 94 on the season, averaging 4.3 yards a carry. The Ken having a quarterback on when to run, and I'm just thinking, like, gosh, I don't want to hurt another quarterback, and that's what I wonder. You've got to keep the offense going, but you just don't want to hurt another quarterback. That's my fear.
Sure. But like I said, I think it's coaching. So I do like that you did bring up the run game, because this game, 203 yards of offense on the ground. Like you noted, Josh Davis had a great game. Of course, my guy, D-Mac, Dante McMillan, had a great game, 49 yards for himself on 12 attempts. Really like it. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about the turnovers. Turnovers continue to be a struggle for the Wildcats here. Wildcats ended up committing, I think they had 2 fumbles in this game and lost both those fumbles. So just it's a tough thing, because it was such a point of emphasis for the Wildcats in past seasons where they wanted to win the turnover game. They wanted to, and they did. I think they ended up going up. Well, I think that they ended up tied in this game, because I think both teams lost 2 fumbles. But done there. And do you think that things continue to improve? Is it something that coaching staff just emphasizes, like, take care of the ball? We're going to try and win, these turnover battles. Like, is that something you see improving? Because the schedule continues to be difficult going forward, with Montana State on the 15th and then Eastern Washington in Cheney the following week. I mean, what do you think with the turnovers?
Unforced errors are going to be the death, and we hear Coach Hill talk about that all the time. It's the mistakes. Going back to the facts, we've fumbled the ball 7 times this year. We've lost 5 of those. So now one of those, there was nobody in position to get it, and it went back 94 yards. But we've got to take care of the football. If you're going to drop it, you got to cover it up, and so that's something that's worried about. We've thrown 6 picks. We've only gotten 3. We're -3 in interception turnover margin on the season. You got to take care of the ball. When we play a team like Eastern Washington, and yes, I burned my retinas and watched a little bit of the game on ESPN on Saturday night against the Grizzlies.
It was a classic. It was a classic, man.
It was a great game. Great finish.
Game.
A barn burner up there. But gosh, I think Eastern had 2 interceptions in the last 5 minutes of that game as Washington was trying to get that last touchdown. One of them, I think, was in the end zone, if I remember correctly. Those guys are ball hawks, and you've got to hold on to the football and make smart decisions. If you're going to beat a team like Eastern Washington, if you're going to beat a team like Montana State, we've got to take care of the ball and not have the turnovers.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that. We've had 2 or 3 turnovers each game. Although, shout out for our fumble recovery on the backward pass. That was a fun one, even though the camera work didn't allow us to see it. We occasionally get them too. But I completely agree with what Sean's saying. It's not out of the norm for the season. But that being said, we've got 3 weeks to get it together, because Eastern Washington isn't isn't going to let that happen without really setting the gap with scores. So I think that just, continuing to work our reps and holding on to the ball, because we can't continue to have these unforced errors and do well the rest of the season.
Yeah. We know that Eric Barriere is a very good quarterback, but also I think the EWU defense showed up in a surprising way in that game, and they'll be ready. But we can't look past
Colby,
them yet.
One other thing in that is penalties too.
Yeah.
On the season, we've given up 100 yardage than our opponents. 30 penalties or 36 penalties in 4 games. That's a lot. And you can make arguments about the quality of the officiating. I'm not going to go there. But you've got to control what you can control, and that's not false starts, the personal fouls, those kind of things that are user error or mental error type penalties, and we've got to be careful. And the penalties are part of the unforced errors along with the turnovers.
Yeah, that's true, because I think there was a penalty that negated an interception in the Cal Poly game, which was kind of a bummer. I was like, oh, what?
That was Davis. That was the roughing the passer.
I don't want to talk about that one.
Yeah, no, I thought I saw one in the game this weekend too. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Penalties have been an issue this season. A lot of unforced errors, and you control your controllables, and that's definitely one. Just pay attention, do your best to keep a clean game, because good things can happen. The game against JMU was pretty clean. There were not a lot of penalties there, but the game is against Davis. Some key critical penalties that made the difference in that game, because it ended up being a 3-point game. All right, guys. Next, no game this week. It's going to have the bye week, so it'll be a good opportunity for the guys to rest up as we get ready for a couple of tough games, like we noted. Friday night, October 15th, homecoming night. Montana State will be here in Ogden to take on the Wildcats. Going to be a tough game. The Bobcats are for real, even though it's a first-year head coach. I mean, that was a semifinal team just like us in 2019, and they have played extremely well against their opponents. So looking forward to that matchup, and we'll see what we can do against the duo of Ifanse on the ground and their quarterback, Matt McKay, who's also throwing the ball really well. Couple of let's go to the calendar now, and let's talk a little bit about upcoming games. And so Tuesday, like we noted, volleyball be against Idaho State in the Swenson, 6 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, or you can catch it on ESPN Plus if you're out of town. I mean, if I were you, I'd get to the match. That's just what I would do. And then Thursday, October 7th, like I said, volleyball against Northern Colorado. This is going to be a big game. It's going to be blackout, and there will be poster signing after the match, 6 p.m. in the Swenson. It'll be on ESPN Plus, but get everybody out there, man. We want the Swenson to be as loud as we possibly can for the Bears and make them as uncomfortable as we can, because they're a good team and they will need all the advantage that we can get facing a good squad in Northern Colorado. Friday, October 8th, soccer will be down in Flagstaff taking on NEU. Soccer team, surprising right now. I think that they're undefeated. I think it's 4-0 in conference play.
Yeah, and for the first time since 2008, 3-0, I think is what they are now.
It's 3-0, yeah. So they've beat Idaho. They took on, I'm trying to remember who it was this weekend. It was Idaho State. They smashed them 3-0. And so, I mean, surprising. The soccer team really playing well in conference play right now. They'll be down in Flagstaff on Friday night, taking on the Lumberjacks, 8 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. You can get that match on ESPN Plus. Then Saturday, October 9th, softball is going to be taking on Dixie State, the continuation of kind of their spring training or fall schedule. It's just kind of going through some reps, getting everyone ready as we get ready for the ball in the spring. You can go catch that game at Wildcat Softball Field, 11 a.m. And then later that day, they'll be taking a bus ride down to Salt Lake to take on the Utes at 3 p.m. I don't know very much about that. I don't think it will be televised, but you know about it. And then Sunday, October 10th, soccer is going to be at SUU. They'll play at 1 p.m. That will be on ESPN Plus. And so check them out there. So, folks, that's what we got for this week. Thanks for taking some time to chat with me. Of course, thanks to Dani Nay for taking the time to come on Weber State Weekly. I know she's a busy student. Nursing program is very demanding at Weber State. If you know anything about Weber State, being a nursing student is not easy. And so we appreciate her taking some time to chat with us. And so we'll wrap it up like we usually do. I'll give you guys all the stuff, but we've gone quite over a bit. You know where to find us, weberstateweekly.com at Gmail. We're on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We got a website. We got a Patreon. Check it out. So we'll wrap it up like we usually do and say Weber State, Weber State.
Great.
Great.
Great. Go Wildcats.